Before we start the real video where we talk about the actual game, I just want to talk a little bit about the fallout from the game. Obviously, Klopp's going to be incredibly frustrated. He wanted to do something in the Cup. He probably would have thought that they did enough today, and they will be very frustrated with the team, their preparation, and all those kind of things. But he'll also be frustrated with the fact that, I mean, we've all seen that Swedish interview now. I think it's a Scandinavian interview at least, where he just walks out the interview, says it's a dumb question. I get it, this is partially why Jurgen Klopp is leaving. He is sick of the grind of having to be a manager, of having to answer the same questions. But I also saw a lot of people, and I just want to talk about this here, clipping that up and going, oh, it's just rude or whatever. Or trying to find a way of reframing it into, Klopp not liking difficult questions. I don't think either of the questions he got asked were difficult, but I think that he gets frustrated when he answers so many questions. And there are so many people in the football space, professionals, who hear his answers, who ask a lot of the questions, who want very specific answers, but aren't willing to listen when he answers with points he wants to make. They just want the points that they want to make mirrored back to them so they can write an article, which I get is part of it, right? If you're a manager, you're playing part of the media game, you've got to play into the performance element. But I also think Klopp has spent a lot of his time in the UK being belittled for saying, oh, we have a lot of games. Pep has spent the same. A lot of other managers are saying the same thing at this point. And Manchester United, when they make it through the Champions League, when they play on multiple fronts, when they have more players who are going away to international football, will complain about the same thing. And it's kind of that old boo-hoo thing. But you have only a limited amount of a squad. You have only a limited amount of time. And I think when you get towards the end here, where it is like Klopp has only got so many games left, he wants to be able to represent himself in a maximum way, to be able to show himself in the best light, to be able to show this team in the best light, to be able to show that this side are capable of entertaining the players. Not for you, not for the Manchester United press, not for anyone else, but for the Liverpool fans. And so I get Klopp's frustration absolutely in these interviews when he's being asked questions that frankly seem fairly inane, are why do you think you lost the game? And he says, well, I think it's down to them playing less games, us playing more games. And they go, so you think it's more games, less games? It's okay, well, what have I just said? That must be very frustrating. And then I get he's obviously a sore loser sometimes. I think most managers are. They're very competitive people. But pretending as if this is some sort of unique situation only to Klopp and that this hasn't happened to other managers, doesn't happen to other managers, and that other managers haven't been chased out of the country or gotten tired. Mourinho, even Sir Alex Ferguson at Manchester United kept certain people out of press conferences he didn't want to be asked questions by them. Does that make him a sore loser, a bad person? I don't know, you tell me. I'll be interested to know whether the analysis is different if it's one of the legends of the game who isn't in the current era. I just think this is partially why people like Klopp get tired of playing in the English game, is because it is just so wearing over and over and over again. And if you're not one of the darlings, if you're not constantly winning, if you're not doing what the press want you to do, you get chased out in some way. And especially by an incredibly Manchester and London-based press. Of course, it's weird that Liverpool end up on the fringes. Yeah, I don't even think that's unreasonable analysis at this point. It's just the reality. I hear a lot of people speaking about Klopp in such unreasonable, disingenuous ways. I find it quite frustrating as a Liverpool fan, so I can't imagine how that feels if you are the person at the centre of that. Anyway, on with the video. I'm not really one for making many excuses after a loss, and in fact, the fact that this is Liverpool's second loss in 22 games or something like that is still pretty impressive. But also the fact that United beat us in the way that they did is obviously very frustrating. But Jurgen Klopp has got this famous phrase, and obviously we've all been reading Klopp phrases more recently, but I'd rather lose and know why than win and not know why. But in these last few games that are Klopp's, you'd rather just win and send them off in such a great way. Which is why the frustration is there, and there are a lot of people who probably will be angry that we went out in the way that we did. A lot of people saying that we handed that one back to Manchester United. But that's part of playing a counter-attacking side. That's part of playing an Erik ten Hag system. Erik ten Hag has been very good at countering what numerous high-end managers have done more recently, and I think Jurgen Klopp has also fallen foul of that. Fell foul of that at Old Trafford. We could be 2 points at Anfield. We fell foul of it at Old Trafford in this game. And I think the real key here is that we don't want to fall foul of that a third time in this season and let the league get away from us. We don't need to let the league get away from us. The fact is that whilst Liverpool have been very good this year, they're competing on numerous fronts, which by the way is something else I want to talk about later on, we have shown some vulnerability, and that is because of the way that Klopp plays. He plays with a lot of these risks, these kind of open games. they're not exactly the kind of games we want to play, but they're certainly Jurgen Klopp's strengths. And United obviously have got a great amount of strength on the counter-attack, and they played Liverpool perfectly today. They allowed Liverpool the ball at the right times, attacked almost everything down Liverpool's right-hand side, their left-hand side, and tried to exploit Joe Gomez. Obviously, Joe Gomez is a great player, but if you've got Kwanzaa immediately behind him, he needs a little bit more support. You can even see that for the first goal, that Liverpool weren't quite sure on their positions, and there are times where you think Konate, a more aggressive centre-back, would have been good in there. Kwanzaa's very good, but there's also times where Liverpool are just going to get caught out by playing combinations out on the field that they can't necessarily train or coach up in the way that they want to. And of course, yes, that is very frustrating. Of course, yes, you don't want to go away to Old Trafford and feel there isn't a very obvious vulnerability. But United played that very well today, and I think they deserve credit for that. I know this might not be nice listening or viewing for some Liverpool fans, but we also just need to show an element of realism. The fact is, the rest of the team, I think there was a bit of sloppiness actually in the side today, and I think there are times where Liverpool show an element of contempt for Manchester United. It has been a long time since United have been, at the very top, and over a decade now. And it's easy to forget, especially for this very young team, that Manchester United are still an institution, and it's still easy to forget that there is a deserving element to the way that they play. It's clear that Liverpool don't particularly respect or regard them highly. And, maybe that's because they're Manchester United, but also maybe it's because this team haven't been particularly good more recently. But it's to Liverpool's detriment that we don't play them with more of that respect. Obviously, Salah has good games against them. Obviously, there have been big games for us at Old Trafford. But I think ever since that, absolute thrashing we gave them, I do think we've treated them in a way that we shouldn't really, if I'm frankly honest. United have been very much on the up. We need to reassess the way that we see them and play them as a team. And we kind of need to be on the front foot against them. We kind of need to be out there doing what we need to do, killing them rather than them killing us. And that is frustrating to watch as a fan. I kind of watch it and go, why didn't we actually get on? Why didn't we actually do something today? Why didn't we keep it when Harvey Elliott came on and scored that great goal? Why didn't we keep it from 2-1 up when we were clearly the better team? Of course, it's quite late. It was 87 minutes, I think Anthony scored. We knew we were going to go to extra time. We knew we were trying to avoid that. We've played 18 games in the time that they have played 12. And of course, that is a point of frustration for us and a point of frustration for Klopp. Fixture pile-up, especially when there are other teams who don't have nearly as many fixtures, because United went out of Europe 4th in their group, they're kind of having that payoff now, right? But that's the ups and downs of it. If you want to make a consistent juggernaut, which is I think what Liverpool are going to try and build in this next generation, you kind of need to give your manager the resource to do so. And Liverpool have come out the other side of an injury crisis, or out on the other side of an injury crisis. Alisson, Trent, almost all the way along that back line, all the way through the midfield. What could we have done if Curtis Jones was fit today? What could we have done if we had someone like Thiago Alcantara? What could we have done if we had one more midfielder in there that we could put in at the 6th position more permanently? Endo was starting to look a little bit tired. McAllister's starting to look a little bit tired. Liverpool's still rotating Szoboszlai on and off. So we can do all this surface level analysis of we played our strongest team, which they definitely did. And Salah was fantastic. Salah was roaming all over the place. Absolutely loved that. He was given this free roaming role. I think at times it slightly got under Nunez's feet, we weren't really sure where Diaz was meant to go at times. And that obviously can be very frustrating for us, but it also worked at times. And I think the fact that United are so jubilant over this shows where Liverpool are at this point. The fact that we went and scored an extra time first, the fact that we took the game to them at Old Trafford, scored 3 goals against an incredibly defensive, counter-attacking team who've got Varane sitting incredibly deep, Lindelof who they bought for a whole load of money in the first place, Wan-Bissaka who they spent more than almost anyone but one player in our entire back line money on. We've got a kid we bought for $3.5 million in Joe Gomez, and a kid that we paid nothing for, obviously, in Conor Bradley. Kevin Kelleher back there. There's a lot of positives for this Liverpool team. And I hope that we learn the lessons in this game. Hope that we look at that and tactically go, right, how do we take this Erik Ten Hag team apart? Well, first of all, it's not about mistakes, right? We shouldn't be blaming this Liverpool team for mistakes. They're going to be tired. They're going to be all these kind of things. Reduce those elements, sure. But we can't blame it on those mistakes. We have to blame it on the system. There were times where Liverpool players weren't in the right position. There were times we got pulled all over the place by United. There were times where United knew what passing lane we were going to into, and maybe we were too predictable at times. The predictability of this team is definitely something that I think towards the end of the season we will be a little bit frustrated with. We want to, push on. And if we have to play around some of the elements that the other team is setting up because they know where we're going to go, of course that's going to be frustrating. Of course you want someone like Nunez or Salah to unlock the opposition. But at the same time, there were loads of like positives on the other side of that. We know that we can outplay and cause chaos. We know, like, you know, we worry all the big teams. We've really only got Manchester United as a massive side left to go. And really, for me, this season is about one thing: winning a title before Klopp leaves. Not the Europa League, not the FA Cup, not the Carabao Cup, a title. This Liverpool side owe Jurgen Klopp a title. The way that he's leaving the side, the way he's leaving them in such great shape, the way that we are currently playing, the way that we thought we were completely down and out, the fact that Klopp might leave at the end of that season, maybe those instincts were good. But the fact is, we didn't think we'd ever be in this position. We didn't think we'd ever be worrying Manchester United in this way. We didn't think that if we didn't outspend them, then we wouldn't be winning. We didn't think any of these things. And we've done that. We've achieved so much in this era. And I get it. Like, you know, Manchester United should be jubilant today. This feels like a big turning point for them. It feels like something they can focus around. So yes, there is still quality within the side, but the same goes for Liverpool. Harvey Elliott coming on scoring a goal. And of course, the frustration is the other way as well, giving away that ball in such a silly way, leaving one guy at the back. Those two were really just away at the races after that. And yes, maybe a goalkeeper could say that it was quite a slow shot, but at the same time, a really well-placed shot that bounced in off the post. A couple of theirs were kind of sloppy moments again from Liverpool. Things that we should be controlling, because we've got Virgil van Dijk in that back line. Liverpool will be, post-international break, bringing back quite a few of these big players that we can start to rotate come the end of the season. Now, that brings up two final things I want to address here. The injury crisis, of course, means players doesn't play, but it also means players don't train. It also means players aren't integrated with the team. And of course, while there's banter there, having a working relationship is always better than not having one. And I do think that shows sometimes. Liverpool trying to bed certain players back in, get certain combinations to work. Sometimes passing combinations don't work. Sometimes the thought process isn't quite there. That's a real frustration for me. So getting them back and getting them back in training ASAP is big. Liverpool should still be able to beat quite a few of these other sides, and then there's other teams where, you know, the system will have to win through, like against United, like against, you know, Wolves, teams where Liverpool will be read as a system and be played as a system rather than going on individual battles, which some teams are forced into doing because they don't have the same resources as Liverpool. Anyway, point being, we are at a point where we need a lot of these players to come back into training, and actually, you know, it's very frustrating, but this Liverpool team kind of just have to push on. We've got about 10 games left. It is leave everything out on the field come the last game of the season. They're out of the Cup now. They are still in the Europa League, but the league has to be the focus for me. Leaving on a Europa League, and Europa League and a Carabao Cup is obviously a great last season, but a league is just so sweet. Disappointed today a little bit with this side. I don't think we let it go, as some people are saying, but I definitely think that they focused on one side and we never quite got to grips with that. We never quite got to grips with them targeting whoever was in right back for us. And I think they took away our width. Both those things we have to address next time we go to Old Trafford. And maybe, just maybe, we might be the fortunate ones on these days, because we could have won 5-4, we could have won 6-4, we could have won 7-8-4, they could have won 6-4 at one point. So yeah, I wouldn't take too much from that. If anything, let's go back to that Klopp phrase of I'd rather lose and know what it is than win and not know what it is. Hope you guys enjoyed this analysis. If you've not already hit the Patreon, support the channel, please. And if you've not already hit the Discord, it's down there. Come in, have a chat. We'll see you guys in there. Much love. Bye.